What's up, everybody? We are back, baby, with another episode of possibly the greatest, one of the greatest, up there podcast in the state, Kings of Tennessee podcast, baby. We're back. I'm joined, as always, by Billy Derrick. Billy, it's snowy, it's icy. This is weird for us. How are you doing, buddy?
I'm good, man. I'm ready for the summer. Been cooped up inside for like 4 days, but no, I'm ready, man. We got college football wrapping up. Well, I mean it's been over, but I mean honestly, Chase, I say wrapping up. The portal season has turned college football into a little bit of the NFL, to be honest. Kind of talking about it year round. But we got college hoops, we got college baseball. I think I counted in under 30 days, at least for Vandy. But yeah, man, I'm glad to be back.
For all of our listeners out there who have been dying for basketball coverage, we've got it today. We've got basketball, like Billy said, baseball's around the corner. So I mean, it's progressing. The year is already, we're almost through the first month of the year, which kind of crazy, to think about that.
Yeah, man, it's crazy because football, you feel like it's over, but it's almost like the talk heats up, because you got the portal and which coach we have coming in, uh, are any more players going to leave? With Alabama, they had another 30 days to reopen for them, so yeah, it's crazy. Football, college football is turning into its own entity. That's why they need a commissioner. But it's a monster. I mean, it always has been, but even now, it's such a. I think just nationally, like we think about it regionally, but I think even out west, if you're in Seattle, Washington was in the national title, Los Angeles, USC, like Northeast. It's not the best in the Northeast. We still got Ohio State, so yeah, man, it's crazy time. It's kind of sad. It's over, but I love the off season. We were talking before about the over unders coming out when we're gonna do those that podcast. But yeah, man, I'm fired up.
I feel like, we talked about college football becoming the NFL. The college football cycle at this point just spans up until the summer, basically. I feel like basically up until the start of next season.
Yeah, yeah. It's honestly the calendar is so messed up. Like they've got that's what they've got to fix. It's like the NFL. As soon as the playoffs start, it's like, okay, let's open free agency. I mean, there's no other league anywhere in the world that does that, but college football does. It's messed up. Coaches know it. I don't think they're happy. I don't think you could. It's like if you put truth serum on all of these college football coaches, especially in the SEC, but even across the country, they're not happy. They're not happy. It's everything's harder. You got to be a CEO, and if you're not, you don't adapt, you're gonna die. I.e. Clemson, i.e. Vanderbilt. Before this offseason, they're starting to pick up their NIL program, but you got to have a big time NIL program if you want to compete because it's leveled the playing field, which I like. I like that a lot.
Yeah, and it's I think we do need a commissioner, which I think at some point that's going to happen. Maybe need a salary cap as well. I could see that maybe getting implemented in the next couple of years, just to kind of the NIL. I like it a lot, but it's very kind of hit or miss, very loose, very Wild West kind of. So yeah,
Yeah,
that's which I don't know, Billy. How long do you think it lasts until we have a salary cap or commissioner?
I don't even know if that ever happens, Chase. To be honest, I mean, it almost feels like a pipe dream right now. Like you're kind of sitting here going, all right, what's going to happen is I know they're in meetings right now, in DC, but nothing's really come of that. So I don't know, Chase. Honestly, my gut tells me it'll kind of stay like this, but slowly year after year, we might start finding some resolutions to it. But I don't think it'll be fixed per se anytime soon.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that as well. It sucks, but like,
Yeah, as sad as it is, and as much as we want it to happen, I don't see it.
yeah, I know they're trying. I know a lot of schools are trying to get the employer status where the school themselves can pay the player. So that's a
Yeah,
whole nother bag of tricks that is up the sleeve of a lot of these Power Five schools. I kind of have a prediction real quick before we get into everything. I think that the Power Five itself is going to become its own subdivision of college football. So the Power Five is going to play for a national title. The Group of Five will play for their own national title. And I think that comes from the schools being able to pay the players. I don't, that probably is 4 or 5 years down the road, but I could see that happening where we kind of have like a new feeder system, if you will, with, the Power Five subdivision being the forefront of that. But
Yeah, I think
it,
you're right, and I think most people would agree with that. Yeah.
yeah, so I mean, that would be fun as well. So we'll see kind of where this all goes. But start our college football conversation. The biggest news last week was that Nick Saban retired. I know we talked about it a little bit. We thought from the time of our last recording, Dan Lanning kind of looked like the runaway favorite, and he turned it down. He turned it down, and a guy that I had mentioned would be a fun get, Kalen DeBoer, is the guy that Alabama chooses to replace Nick Saban with. DeBoer coming off an undefeated season, almost with Washington, got to the national championship game, fell short at Michigan. He's been great. He's been great at Washington, has a good record. Before that, previous stop, he was Fresno State's head coach, spent time at Indiana as their offensive coordinator. So, Billy, I know a lot of people are kind of up in arms about this hire. I kind of like it, but I just wanted to get your thoughts on the new Alabama head coach.
Yeah, I like it. I think it's the best possible guy Alabama could have brought in, given the circumstances. We talked about Dan Lanning, and said that would have been the best hire, probably they could have made. Lanning turned it down. He stayed committed to Oregon. Then where'd they go? They went over to Tallahassee. They called on Mike Norvell. Norvell turned it down, got an extension. Then they go over to Texas, Steve Sarkisian. They send him an offer. He turns it down. He gets an extension from Texas. So Jimmy Sexton just kind of playing around with with these with Alabama a little bit, and Saban was one of his clients, and I want to say DeBoer is one of his clients as well. So he made himself some money, made his coaches and his clients some money, and then yeah, Kalen DeBoer, fourth option. It's not too bad. I wouldn't say it's a home run hire. I really wouldn't, but it's not a bad hire at all. I think it's a good hire, not great. Um, the positives are that he's a winner. He has won everywhere he's been, whether it's the NAIA level or, as an OC at Indiana. Even though Penix was hurt that whole time, he had a, damn good offense there at Indiana. Fresno, really good teams there. And then Washington, ridiculous success. Pac-12 championship, college football playoff national title against Alabama, or not Alabama, Michigan. And so, yeah, the positives of that, he's a winner, and he knows what he's doing. He's won championships before, whether it's NAIA, what have you. The negatives, though, might even outweigh the positive, honestly. And again, I'm not trying to be too much of a pessimist, but I'm trying to look at it realistically. You're following the greatest coach of all time, Nick Saban. And if you look at what Saban did at Alabama in 17 seasons, that will never happen again. So the coach that followed Saban at Alabama was always, going to be critiqued, and it was always going to be hard, and it's going to be hard. I told you before we hopped on, the playing field is now level. Alabama is not the king. I know you still got Georgia. Georgia kind of retakes that spot, but even the top is more even now. Texas will be right there with Georgia. I think maybe a slight step down, but they'll be right up there. I think Oklahoma kind of creeping behind. So it's more even. You have a clear one, I think a clear 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, but it's not as top heavy with Nick Saban gone. Um, and so yeah, that's one of the biggest negatives. You're following Nick Saban, and it's going to be hard. It's not going to be the same for Alabama, and all of a sudden you're seeing just a pillaging of the portal with guys leaving. I know they brought in some of their Washington players. I haven't really seen too many noteworthy guys they have brought in, though. A lot of them have been the guys that have left: Caleb Downs, Isaiah Bond, Caden Proctor. So that's it. That's the concern. Can he bounce back from this initial pillaging right? Of a lot of guys leaving. I saw their depth chart defensively is basically wiped out. Now they still got talent. It's Alabama, right? So he's got the foundation, the Saban foundation. You still got Jalen Milrow. I think they'll be fine. But I see them now, at least the next 2, 3 years, as a team that's going 9-3 and 10-2 instead of maybe 12-0 and 11-1. Um, and yeah, the negatives, can you recruit consistently? I think when Josh Heupel got to Tennessee, that's what we were asking. Another guy from South Dakota. What are the odds Alabama and Tennessee's coaches are both from South Dakota? Um, can you recruit consistently? And what's his approach to NIL? How active in the portal will he be? Can he bring in the right quarterback? How does he work with Jalen Milrow? I just think there are more questions than answers right now. And naturally, you're replacing Nick Saban, but yeah, Chase. Honestly, I think they did the best they possibly could. Um, I like him a lot, though. I really do. I'm trying to keep my expectations realistic for him. You're following Nick Saban. But yeah, I like him a lot. I think he's a class act. He's still young. He's a young guy. And he feels like a cool guy to play for, a player's coach, a guy that, kids want to play for. We'll see if he can recruit that. That'll be the biggest thing. And it'll be fun to track. But yeah, you're following Nick Saban, Chase, and it was never going to be easy.
Yeah, to me, the biggest concern, if I'm an Alabama fan, is recruiting because you just come off of a national title appearance and you don't have a top 25 recruiting class at Washington. Kind of, a little concerning to me. I think that's where Dan Lanning would have been, the better choice, but he obviously wanted to stay for Oregon. Congrats to Oregon. If your coach doesn't want to leave you for Alabama, unless Kirby Smart decides to just, up and move, he's not, Dan Lanning is not going anywhere for anybody. And they're going to be able to build a great program there. I'm excited for them. But back to DeBoer. Yeah, to me, it's recruiting. And can he get a lot of the main guys to stay and avoid jumping in the portal? I know they brought in a quarterback today from Washington. He brought in Austin Mack, transferred into Alabama today. He's a former 4-star quarterback. That's kind of it. That's kind of all I've seen them bring in. Even from Washington, I think they had Jabaz Muhammad transferring, but it looks like he's going to Texas probably. Um, which is weird, Billy. I don't. To me, that's kind of weird that he's not being able to bring some of the Washington transfers with him. Whether whether that be he might not want them to, or something else kind of in the waters there. But that to me is a little concerning. And Alabama, I think what a lot of people don't quite see is I think Oregon, Texas, Florida State, I think they have a better NIL revenue, shockingly, than say an Alabama does. And I think without Nick Saban, Bama fans are going to realize that it's hard to recruit in this world. Like it's tough. You're going to get into more battles now. You're going to lose out on some big guys because, I think a lot of people, college students, they want to commit to people. They're not going to commit to a school. I think they're more in tune to committing to coaches that they can trust, they can get along with, and coaches that have success. And there's not a better person that represents that other than Nick Saban. You don't say no to Nick Saban a lot of the times. And I know he's still going to have access. They're reporting that he's got 100% access to, the college itself, but it's still DeBoer now. It's hard. It's going to be hard to get people to commit to the logo rather than the people there.
Yeah, I mean, I think a big thing for DeBoer is that offense. You can recruit to that. You can sell that, man. Look at what I turned Michael Penix into. Look at these receivers I developed into NFL players. He has developed guys at Washington. I think that'll help him. I think the concern is defensively. I think he brought in a really good DC and Kane Womack from South Alabama. He was the head coach there. Uh, it's funny. DeBoer was the OC at Indiana when he was there. Womack was the DC. So Indiana had a couple of really good coaches. Now they're both at Alabama. So offensively, I think they'll be fine. I think they'll put up points. I think it'll be similar to what Josh Heupel's doing at Tennessee, similar to what you're seeing at Oklahoma. It's going to be a different Alabama. I don't know that they'll be as physical. Washington was underratedly physical though. Like they hung tough. I know against Michigan, not really, but bringing in Ryan Grubb, his OC from Washington, was massive. I think that was a huge move to make. And I think the question now is, can you turn Jalen Milroe into a guy similar to Michael Penix? I don't really see Milroe turning into anything even close to Penix. I could be totally wrong there. I think Milroe kind of is who he is, kind of similar to Joe Milton. I mean, Milroe could turn into an NFL quarterback, but that's really going to be interesting, and they have a big decision to make. And they may have already committed to Milroe. They do have that freshman Julian Sayin coming in. They brought that kid over from Washington, like you said, so really good quarterback room. Um, but yeah, Chase, it's gonna be so fun to see what happens here because of the absence of Nick Saban. Nick Saban will be there. He'll be, he'll have an office in the stadium. He's going to kind of let DeBoer do, what he wants with the program, obviously, but having Nick Saban there, in the stadium with his office is huge. So again, I don't think they'll slip too much, but they're going to slip a little bit naturally. And, but the biggest question is defensively, they play to that Alabama standard. We'll see, but offensively, they'll be just fine.
Yeah, I think to me, um, the scariest part about this hire would be who they get to replace that OC with Ryan Grubb. Because he's going to bring Ryan Grubb over to be the offensive coordinator with him, and they've been together forever, dating back to their Sioux Fall days. So that I know Nick Saban wanted him before he hired Tommy Reese, so kind of wild that he retired and got Ryan Grubb. But I think Ryan Grubb is going to be the scariest coach on that roster because I think he is a very, very good offensive coordinator. And from the sounds of it, Washington didn't even offer him the head coaching job, which is weird. I kind of had him touted as a head coach in waiting earlier in the year, and I think he showed that with how he developed Michael Penix in that wide receiver room. So I think they're going to commit to Moreau. I think they're going to give him a year to kind of develop in the offseason. Um, but yeah, I'm interested to see what Grubb does with Milroe heading into the season.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun, man. Like I said, I love Milroe. I think he's a great player, but can he turn into what they think they need? Can he turn into a guy even similar to Michael Penix? Like I said, I don't really think so. But yeah, I think they'll stick with him. And the other thing is receivers. Washington had stud receivers with Adunze and McMillan and Polk. Alabama just lost Isaiah Bond, and I don't really know of any other receivers. I mean, like that. That's kind of the problem with Alabama. They don't have as many offensive weapons. Now they'll be able to run the football, but it'll be interesting. Can DeBoer make that switch philosophically and schematically over to what fits Milroe? That'll be really interesting.
Um, a good news for Alabama is DeBoer's 104-12 as a head coach. So he wins games. You're not bringing
Right,
in a
high
guy who
floor.
struggled. Yeah. He's also 2-0 against Dan Lanning, 2-0 against Sark. So two guys that you wanted maybe ahead of him, he's never lost to. So you're kind of looking at it's I don't know. It's a mixed bag. It's one of those things where it's just a wait and see kind of thing. For me at least. And I'm sure you feel the same way. Um the biggest I think even bigger than DeBoer at Alabama news lately is Caleb Downs is leaving, which is a huge hit to DeBoer's team. He's probably I know a lot of people are calling him the biggest transfer of all time. I think that's a little hefty. I know he's a freshman, so he just come off his freshman year, so he's got eligibility left, but he's a guy that a lot of teams are going to be throwing their hat in the ring for. I'm hoping I'm hoping Heupel and the boys open up the bag, but it's looking like Georgia is where he'll end up.
Yeah, it's looking like Georgia. I know there's a clip out there on Twitter right now of Kirby Smart shaking his hand after the SEC championship game. Um, and his NIL valuation, according to On3, sits at $661,000. So, and he has a roster value apparently over 400K. So he'll be offered a lot, and I think it's going to be Georgia. It's kind of insane. Georgia, even with all that talent, they've still got enough cap space per se to to throw some money at Caleb Downs. But yeah, man, it's crazy what this world has turned into. especially in the SEC and college football. But that's what it's about. It's about paying your best players. And for Georgia, man, I don't see how they're not the national title favorite. I think they already are, the early favorite. And yeah, looks like he's headed to Georgia. And I kind of buy the fact that he could be the biggest transfer. He's a 5-star, one of Alabama's best players, and kind of surprised he left, but also not really because Nick Saban's not there. The person that recruited him to Alabama is not there, right? Like you said, I like how you mentioned players commit to people, not schools. Nick Saban leaves. All of a sudden, you see all these Alabama players leave. That's why they were at Alabama as a Saban. So that's why you've seen this.
Um, just a weird domino effect, not a weird domino effect, but a domino effect, I should say. DeBoer leaves. He is replaced by my coach of the year last year, Jed Fish from Arizona. Interested to see how that kind of goes. I know we talked about Arizona got kind of they're getting the bones picked. They had 9 transfers last night in 30 minutes, and it's going to keep happening. They replaced Jed Fish with Brent Brennan. So Nick Saban leaving causes a lot of job openings and a lot of people flip flopping, going from place to place. So I'll be interested to see. I know I mentioned this off air, but both of our coaches of the year, our reigning coaches of the year, no longer with their team. Billy had Nick Saban, who retired. I had Jed Fish, just got hired off to Washington. Um, so very interesting to see what kind of goes down the rest of the summer. And I think we're gonna kind of find out what kind of recruiter DeBoer is by, how this summer goes and what the roster looks like on day one of spring camp. So I'm very excited to see how that goes. Billy, if you could give me a grade on this hire, DeBoer, early grade, uh, A through F, what you got?
That's a good question. I wouldn't give it an A. I'd probably give it a uh I'll give it a B. I don't want to give it too good of a grade because obviously they wanted 3 guys before him. So I kind of mark it down each letter grade, each guy they dropped, dropped it down a grade, not a letter grade, but A minus, whatever, B plus. So yeah, I'll go B. Again, good but not great, not quite an A. Good grade. You get a B on an exam, that's a good grade. But yeah, I'd have to go B.
I agree. I have it as a B as well. Um, it could. I'm not trying to sell this high or short, but it legitimately could be a disaster, or it could be a very, very home run hire. I mean, it feels like there's no in between. He's either gonna get fired after 3 or 4 years, or he's gonna be there for, you know, 10 minimum. Um, that's kind of where my head lies on this situation. But anyway, Alabama fans, have fun losing to us next year at Neyland. We're going to be celebrating and, stomping on the dead corpse. But transitioning a little bit, Billy, we both started this podcast because we have a love for our two Tennessee teams. And there's one college sport that I feel like is the most competitive between our two Tennessee teams, and that's college baseball. D1 has dropped their college baseball rankings. Like you said, what are we, 30 days away? Is that right?
Yep. Yep. Little under.
So a little under 30 days away from baseball. And good news, both of our teams cracked the top 10 in the preseason rankings or the early season, heading into the season rankings. Tennessee coming in at 9. Excited to see that. But Vanderbilt coming in at number 6 overall. Billy, what are you expecting this season from the Vanderbilt boys?
Well, I really don't know, to be honest. I mean, Vanderbilt under Tim Corbin, I think, has been ranked in the preseason top 10 just about every season. I mean, their streak is ridiculous, and I call that the Tim Corbin bump. They're going to be ranked in the top 10 most seasons. Um, I say I don't know. I mean, I know they're going to be good. They'll probably host a regional, I would guess. The pitching is unbelievable. They've probably got from top to bottom the best, or if not arguably the best pitching staff in the country. They've got Carter Holton, who will probably be their ace. Devin Futrell. I think those are going to be the first 2 guys. Day 3 guy, not sure yet. Got Grayson Carter, Andrew Dukanich Bryce Cunningham. You got a freshman, Ethan McElvain, who played at Nolensville. Um, I think the question mark, though, is offensively and specifically power. They didn't hit very many home runs last year. And in today's day and age of college baseball, you have to hit home runs. Um, and they don't really have, they don't have a ton of star power. A lot of those Vandy teams under Tim Corbin, you would see at least one, maybe even two, just elite stars that okay, this kid's going to be really good in the big leagues. They might have it. I just don't know that they really do. I think they've got some guys that can be really good down the road in the big leagues, but they don't have that surefire, just superstar, like a David Price or a Kumar Rocker or a Jack Leiter, Enrique Bradfield Jr. He's gone. That's a huge guy to replace. I mean, his speed on the base pass was ridiculous. But my question here, Chase, is just offensively. They've got some guys. I was talking to somebody during their scrimmage, pre-fall scrimmage against Wake Forest, actually, who's #1 team in the country. A ridiculous amount of MLB scouts at that one. And he told me that it's time for a lot of these juniors and seniors to step up and to just play the way they can, because they've been in the program. A lot of times under Tim Corbin, he's had seniors really pop that last year there, and they just, whether they have good summers or what. But yeah, Chase, I think they've got a really good team, a lot of talent. But at the end of the day, it's going to come down offensively, because they'll prevent teams from scoring. But say they get to Omaha and they can't score their own, that's going to make it tough. I told somebody I think they'll be in Omaha, but it's getting even tougher. The SEC is ridiculous. You mentioned Tennessee is also in the top 10. Florida, Arkansas, LSU also up there. Texas A&M is up there. Alabama and South Carolina also not far behind. So, yeah, man, honestly, for Vandy Chase, I just think I think the pitching will be perfectly fine. Like I said, the best pitching staff in the country from top to bottom, if not arguably one of them. But can they hit enough? Can they hit with enough power? That's going to be my biggest question. But also, Chase, I can't wait. I'm a college nerd for college baseball, specifically in the SEC. Like, just love, because there's so many good teams. It's ridiculous. Love going to Hoover every year for those games, and yeah, I can't wait. And I love this rivalry between Tennessee and Vandy too. So I'm looking forward to it. But like I said, pitching will be their strength. Offensive power, I think, will be their weakness unless they prove me wrong. So we'll see.
Yeah, we actually started this podcast during baseball season, during
Mm-hmm.
kind of like when the regionals were going on, and I always like to point out that Billy is the baseball expert here. I will go to Billy with any baseball questions. So I kind of want to bring a Billy's baseball corner segment onto the show as we kind of get through this baseball season, because Billy, like you just said, he's a nerd for college baseball, and I'm kind of a newcomer to this. I'm kind of drifting in. I've obviously kept up with Tennessee baseball over the last, I don't know, 4 or 5, probably since COVID started, the year that we got cut short. Um, but outside of Tennessee baseball, I'm kind of clueless. So I'm here, and I hope we all can kind of enjoy and soak up the expertise that Billy will bring to us in baseball. Um, it's fun to point out 6 of the top 10 are SEC teams. Texas also has 16. I think Bama's 19 and South Carolina 25. So that's wild to me. I'm Chase Burns, you traitor. You're playing for the #1 ranked team in Wake Forest. So I'm interested to see how that goes. Billy, do you have a kind of team that you're looking out for heading into the season? Maybe in the SEC, outside of the SEC, that could be a very dangerous team that could go to Omaha and make some noise there.
That's a really good question. I like Tennessee a lot. Again, they've got the power. They've got those bats, and they've got really good pitching too. I'm honestly, Tennessee would be one of my, not even a sleeper, but a team that I think can and likely will make Omaha, if we're being honest. Um, yeah, I mean, I like Alabama a lot. I know what happened with Coach Bohannon last year. What was awful, and there's no place for that. But what Rob Vaughn has done coming over from Maryland has been really impressive. So I think Alabama, who's ranked preseason 19, has a chance to finish even higher, like South Carolina. They kind of got it rolling again after some lean years there before last season. LSU, how do they bounce back without Paul Skeens and Dylan Cruz? Two superstars. They still have Tommy White, and they'll still be loaded, especially with all the NIL and portal activity they've done. Arkansas, Florida. I mean, there's just so many. It's hard to pick, But if I had to pick a sleeper that I think could make a run and get to Omaha, it'd probably be Alabama.
Yeah, I'm interested to see what the LSU team does too, because they last year they seemed kind of unbeatable, and that was shown with a national title to their name and under their belt after last year. I'm interested in Florida. I know they had a really good season last year, and they're coming in this year ranked number two. Yeah, they're ranked second behind Wake Forest. So I'm interested to see what Florida does. But Billy, the Tennessee Vanderbilt series is in Nashville this year. I think we have to go. I know you'll probably be there, but I have to go. I'm gonna come up. We're gonna have to go to a couple baseball games together. May 10th, 11th, and 12th is the Tennessee series. So I'm very excited about that. Vanderbilt's gonna open the
I'll be
season.
there.
You'll be there. We'll be there. So we need to do like a little podcast snippet from Vanderbilt as Tennessee travels there. It's kind of later in the season. Um, so I'm excited about that. It'll be good weather. Hopefully, there will be no snow on the ground. We will not be trapped in our houses like we are currently. Vanderbilt opens up the season with FAU at home. Tennessee is in the Shriners Classic again. They open with Texas Tech. Um, that I know the Shriners Classic is kind of loaded this year. I saw Oregon, Texas Tech. Um, I don't remember the rest of the teams, but playing in these tournaments, I feel like it's kind of like basketball. I don't know your viewpoint on the opening season kind of round robin tournaments, but I kind of like it. It's a good way to kind of get going into the season.
Yeah, Vandy's playing out in Houston. I forget what they're calling that. I forget, but yeah, I love those, man. They do a good job of those, and there's always a ton of really good teams in those. And yeah, it gives you a taste early on in the season without a bunch of midweek games, and you're usually playing indoor or in a warmer environment. Because even in February, Nashville, Knoxville, it gets pretty cold. So hopefully we get all this cold front out, so we get to watch some good baseball. But yeah, man, I'm fired up. I'm already excited for baseball. I can't wait.
We will definitely have Billy's baseball corner on the show added to the list as we, add another sport that we get to enjoy and watch in college baseball to keep us going while football is away. Speaking of other sports to watch while college football is away, this one, Billy, I really hate to say it, but this is not a competitive sport between our two teams. Um, College basketball has been rough this year for Vanderbilt fans, Vanderbilt, athletes and students. And I kind of wanted to jump in. Vanderbilt, as we sit now, um, what is this, Thursday, coming off a loss to Auburn last night. I don't remember the exact number, but it was by a lot. 5-12, had some rough losses early in the year with Presbyterian. Billy, I wanted to pose this question to you. How do you fix Vanderbilt basketball right now?
I don't know. I really don't know. I mean, as bad as this sounds, until they make a change at head coach, I don't know that I really see it changing much. Um, it's just it's so the cupboard is just so bare right now, and I don't even like talking about them, to be honest. Like they're not really worth discussing. That's how bad it's gotten. I mean, Chase, it's bad. Um, we'll do these rapid reactions after games, and I don't know what to say. Um, I really don't. So, yeah, I mean, Chase, until they make a change, I have zero confidence in this program. Now, again, they could have some fun nights. They got Tennessee next Saturday in Nashville. I'll be there. Um, Probably be about 80% orange. Um, but yeah, that's where they're at, Chase. They haven't been good for a while, to be honest, the last 6, 7 years. Um, and they need a change. I mean, I think most people know that. I think fans are kind of scared. Not that a change will be made, because most other fans want it. It's just that if he gets to, say, mediocrity at least. At the end of the season, uh, do they kind of say, okay, he won Coach of the Year last year, we're keeping him. He kind of plateaued. I think that's what they're scared about. Again, I think a move is made after the season. Um, but still, even after that, cupboard's going to be buried and have some portal guys. It's tough. They're in a bad spot, and it's sad, man. I mean, growing up going to games at Memorial, that was a place to be. Like it was a blast. It's just not anymore. It's kind of a ghost town. And I tweeted last night, probably about almost 5,000 Auburn fans in Memorial last night. I know there's a lot of Auburn grads that live in Nashville, and it'll be the same way for Tennessee when they come to town. There's a bunch of Alabama fans a couple weeks ago. So yeah, Chase, it's just bad. Like I said, it's not really even worth diving deep into. We did that in the preseason, and I thought it was going to be a lot better. I mean, you lost to Presbyterian, you lost to San Francisco. Who else? They lost to a really good team, Western Carolina, out of the mid major. So yeah, it's just bad, Chase. And like I said, to answer your question, I don't know how to fit. I mean, I say I don't know. I'm making a change first. Secondly, they got to invest in NIL. You have to. You have to invest in NIL. You've got to be active in being portal juniors and seniors. I know everybody, reacted to that Stackhouse quote. He said, "We don't get juniors and seniors." Bull crap. That's a lazy excuse. You should be able to get juniors and seniors. You got Ezra Manjon. The women's team has gotten a bunch of juniors and senior transfers. That's ridiculous. So they can. You should have a great program at Vandy. So yeah, I know that's a tangent, but like I said, I think they got to make a move, and that's how you at least start to fix it.
Do you think there's an NIL struggle between football and basketball in terms
You know,
of
I
allocating?
think there's a little bit. Yeah, no, I think there's a little bit of truth to that. But it starts with the head coach. Clark Lee and Barton Simmons from the top have realized, okay, we need to get creative here, and we need to think out of the box. No, we both went to MBA. They kind of grew up around money, decently well off, I think, and they know some people, and they kind of said, "Hey, we haven't thought about this. Let's go talk to the people we know," and they know a lot of people that are pretty loaded. Whether they're connected to Vandy, live in Nashville, whoever. There's a lot of money funneling into Vandy football now. I don't know that many people realize that, but there is, and they're paying up, right? And they've got a lot in the bank. Vanderbilt basketball, Stackhouse has not really done much of it. And it's on him. It's on him. Allocating, it's not up to the school. It's up to that head coach, really, to communicate with the collective and say, hey, we need this guy. Let's pay up for him, right? That's what great coaches are doing in today's day and age. Again, they may not like it. Stackhouse can talk all about it, that he doesn't like it. But if you want to win, you got to do it, or else you're going to die, adapt or die. So, yeah, I mean, yeah, there might be a struggle, but it's not on the university. It's on the head coach and the leadership within that basketball program. Um, maybe he'll think of some stuff and turn the tide here. I don't see that. I don't think he really cares enough, to be honest. Um, but yeah, we'll see. I mean, Chase, he could put his own damn money toward it if he wanted. I mean, but I just don't think he's got that pride, and I don't think he cares very much. They got to get a coach in there that cares and is fully invested. So yeah, I don't know that there's a big struggle, but like I said, it starts with the head coach.
Yeah, Stackhouse doesn't strike me as somebody that bleeds Vanderbilt basketball. Like he's not. I don't think he ever has bought into the whole school, maybe the school spirit kind of thing. You look at guys like Rick Barnes. I don't think he truly bleeds Tennessee basketball. He might now. I would think that was a little bit more complicated earlier in his career. He might now. He might bleed Tennessee basketball now. But these coaches that are like, I live and breathe my school's basketball. I think that would be a fantastic addition to Vanderbilt. Somebody that's, gung ho, wants this, not even the school, wants the city, wants, the football team to do well, wants the baseball team to do well. Somebody that bleeds Vanderbilt basketball, Vanderbilt sports, and just Vanderbilt all together. Um, I don't know where you're going to find that. I don't know who some names out there. There might be names out there. I don't know any. Billy, would you know any that would kind of have that attitude?
Yeah, I don't know if you've heard much about College of Charleston, but Pat Kelsey is doing a hell of a job there. And he, like you said, the city, he's gotten Charleston, South Carolina really involved, and they love that little program. College of Charleston. If he could do that in Charleston, South Carolina, I can't imagine him not wanting to do that in Nashville, right? I think a lot of fans want him. Uh, there's a guy at High Point right now, Alan Huss, who's doing a really good job in the Big South. I think they're like 3-0, 4-0 maybe. Um, there's coaches out there, man. Again, it'll be tough. I don't think Vanderbilt will get a huge splash if they make a move. Um, but they need to get a guy, like you said. I completely agree with you, Chase, who is 100% invested and is not going to deal with, much BS. So yeah, I'd go College of Charleston head coach Pat Kelsey, High Point coach Alan Huss, Harvard's head coach Tommy Amaker, who would fit, that academic type personality. Great coach, played at Duke under Coach K, one of his first players, really good players. And yeah, so I'd go with those three. Again, there'll be a lot out there. I've heard some buzz about Will Wade, who's at McNeese right now. We know about him, and feels like he's kind of cleaned his act up a little bit. We'll see. But yeah, like I said, they got to hire a guy that will 100% be invested in today's world with NIL in the portal and fall in love with the city. I mean, who wouldn't want to make Vanderbilt basketball great again in Nashville?
Yeah, that's kind of my thing. Is like Nashville's a big city. It's a very fast growing city. It's been that way for a while now. How do you not use that enticing aspect of Vanderbilt to not only lure students, transfers, but coaches as well? And I think if you just get a guy that bleeds Vanderbilt, I think it'll happen. I think NIL, the way this new college sports works, it's not going to take maybe as long to rebuild a program. But they just need someone, like you said, maybe not they won't get a splash, but sometimes you don't need a splash. Sometimes you need a guy that'll right the ship. And I think that's what Vanderbilt needs. Transitioning a little bit with my school, Tennessee is having a good year so far, I think. There's some bad losses recently. The Mississippi State loss was, not the most fun, but from a Rick Barnes led team, that's what you get. 5 minutes without scoring a point, 10 minutes without scoring a point. That's what this team, I should say, provides. They're sitting right now at 13-4. Um, Luckily, besides that Mississippi State loss, every other loss is against a top 15 team, I think, at this point. Yeah, top 15. Arizona is still in the top 15. So yeah, I don't. We haven't played Arizona. I don't know what I'm talking about. This the way basketball, some of these open season tournaments works. If yeah, I mean it's hard to keep up with at some points. But we talked about a player playing in the orange and white this season, Dalton Connect. We've talked about him off air. We've texted back and forth about him. You tweeted out about him the other day. He is lighting college basketball up. Back to back 35-point games. About a month ago against North Carolina, he had 37. Um, 2 nights ago against Florida Tuesday night, he had 39. I mean, he has been what this team has been missing. He's just a takeover guy, and he's been great. Billy, what do you think about good old DK, number 3 for the Vols?
He's unbelievable, man. We talked a little bit before we got on here and talked about the fact that, we didn't really expect much. Not we expected much, but not this. I didn't really know who he was. But his game is unbelievable. I mean, I gotta imagine he'll be a first round pick now at this point. Um, his game, he dominates, man. I mean, that Florida game was unreal. 39 points, I think. Played really well at Mississippi State, even though they lost. Played well at Georgia, um, averaging something ridiculous in his last few games, over 30 points. He is exactly what the doctor ordered, and I've been really impressed with Rick Barnes and his ability to kind of give up his style a little bit. Uh, I never would have thought Rick Barnes would bring in a guy like Dalton Connect and just get out of the way. Say, tell his guys, tell other experienced guys like Vescovi and Jordan James to get out of the way, guys. He is scoring. He's our dude. And I think that'll be the key here down the stretch with SEC play heating up, conference tournament, March. Can those guys kind of get out of the way? But can they also work with him? Because they're going to have to make shots. We talked about that too. Vescovi and Jordan James have really struggled as of late. They're going to have to play really well around him. But I love watching him play. I always wanted to watch Alabama every game last year because of one guy, Brandon Miller. Tennessee is turning into that type team this year. They're exciting because of Dalton Connect, and he's unbelievable, man. I can't wait to watch tomorrow's game against Alabama.
Yeah, I'm as excited as anybody to play Alabama. What scares me about this team um is not Dalton Connect because I like DK a lot. I think when he's scoring, he's the best player on the court, no matter who he's playing against. Um, but after that North Carolina game, he sprained his ankle and he had a rough go of things. And that's kind of where this team faltered a little bit. And that's what scares me because basketball is a make or miss kind of game. If you're on, you're on, and you can beat anybody. But if you're off, you need your teammates to come together and kind of make up for what you're not doing. And that is where this team is a little scary to me because, like you said, Josiah struggled lately. Santiago has struggled lately. Takai's been playing good. He's been scoring. Adu is Adu's weird because any guy that is a little bit skinnier than him, he's gonna dominate. But if you're just a little bit bigger than him, he's gonna struggle. Waka has struggled, and even Jordan Gainey. I was excited about Jordan Gainey coming in, and he's been nowhere. He's been missing MIA for almost a month now. So this team to me, if they play well, I think the Florida game is a good representation of how good this team can be because Adu contributed, Sakai contributed, and DK went off. And if you play like that, if they play like they play against Florida, I don't know anybody that could beat them. I mean, they were toying with Florida toward the end. Connect was just trying to get 40 at toward the end of the game. Um, Defensively, this team is still what they used to be. They're great. They're shut down. They're locked down. I think that's where Vescovi kind of helps out a lot, and Josiah because they're struggling, but they've been great on defense. And I think that's where DK lacks as well. Is his defense. And if he can, I told somebody if he could work on his defense, he's going to be scary.
Yeah, and that's the scary part about Tennessee, Chase. They've got Dalton Connect, but they've also got that defense like they've always had. Um, and so that is what is scary. They finally got that offensive piece now, that explosive dynamic piece. It's gonna be fun to see what they do, man.
It's going to be March is going to be fun, and I think DK is going to turn it up in March. Rick, when you were talking about Rick, kind of giving up his style, Rick has not had a player like this since the mid 2000s. When he was at Texas, Billy, you might have heard of this guy, Kevin Durant. And, we call Kevin Durant KD. You know what KD backwards is? DK. That's all I'm saying. I know Connect has been a big fan of Kevin Durant. That's why he wanted to come to Tennessee. He wanted to play for Kevin Durant's college coach, and now he's here, and we're very thankful. Uh, but yeah, I'm still of that aspect of okay, this is great. When's he gonna fall apart? And I think that's the Tennessee fan in me. It's when is this gonna fall apart? Because it's coming. Rick Barnes, I don't trust Rick in March. I don't know of anyone that does. It's coming. Like this is a team that's gonna go Sweet 16 and then fumble the bag. And I just have that feeling.
We'll see, man. We'll see. I love the faith there and belief.
I'm all into this team. I've bought into this team, um, but it's coming. I have that weird. I think this team is gonna win the SEC title. They're gonna win the tournament, and then March is where it gets scary. I think I have to see their seeding and who it is in their bracket. But Rick has never done any. He's been to one Final Four, and we've never been to a Final Four. And I want that. I want that so badly. This is his best team. This is the best team to do it with. This is his most all around team. Dalton Connect is a takeover guy. If Rick is going to go to a Final Four, this is it. And I hate that people are like, "This
Well,
is a Final Four team." Please don't say that, because you're gonna talk some bad stuff in the universe. Please don't say this is a Final Four team yet. Wait a little bit, and then we can see if they're a Final Four team. But
we'll
Billy
see, man.
Vanderbilt's got Mississippi State this weekend. Tennessee, like we've talked about, has Alabama. Quick prediction: does Vanderbilt beat Mississippi State?
No.
Close. And is it
Any
a close game?
no.
Okay. Well, there you
Tennessee, 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 that's gonna be close. That's gonna be a good game. I think they
Yep.
win because they're at home.
Hot take. Tennessee 15 plus because it's a home game. And
Oh,
I think well the way Florida was kind of a game that I was scared about and we blew them out. I know Alabama was better than Florida. Alabama's kind of got their feet together. recently. They struggled in the first half against Missouri, but at home, Tennessee, maybe not 15 plus. I'll give you realistically, give me 10 plus against Alabama. I think Tennessee can beat these big teams. Alabama, I think they could beat Kentucky. Um, it's all non-con. Non-con to me is where we sit and where we get scared at. Um, I think now I don't know. I don't think um Georgia and Florida are quad one teams, so Tennessee is 2-4 right now against quad one teams. So got to improve that. Um, but they have a chance this weekend to improve that record. So we'll see. But I think that's gonna about do it for this week's episode. We've got into football, we've got into basketball, and we've got into baseball. So that's incredible. Billy, I hope you enjoy going out and making snow angels, going snowball fights, you know, because I don't think we're ever gonna have a snow like this again. It's the most I've ever seen. So enjoy it while it's here. I'm about to go outside and frolic around myself. So Billy, thank you for joining us. Any sign off words for you?
No, man, everybody stay safe. Have a good weekend, Chase. It's always fun, man. Thanks again for having me.
Yes, sir. We will be back next week sometime to discuss this weekend's basketball and hopefully there's some more college football news. So we will catch you guys then.